And thank you everyone for joining us today. We got a lot of students on the Zoom call today to speak with all of our fantastic presenters. And my name is Lori and I'm with Career Services. And before I even really get started, I am actually going to kick it off with a couple of polls so that we can get to know our students a little bit better and think about, and learn a little bit more about you on what you're hoping to learn today. So I do have a poll. The first one is, I would like to learn, and you can choose multiple selections, a little bit more about the careers of our presenters today, some of the hurdles they overcame, and some tips for college and career success. So I'll leave this open for just a few seconds so that you can take the time to let us know a little bit more about, what it is that you're hoping to learn today. We do have three fantastic speakers with really amazing accomplishments. So when I go into their bios, it'll be a very abbreviated version because they do have so many wonderful accomplishments there. And it looks like right at the moment, and I'll share the results in just a moment, but we've got everyone doing the poll, and most people are looking to know more about some of the hurdles you've experienced and how you've overcome them. So we still have a few more people voting, so I'll give them just a few more seconds, and then I'll share the results of the poll. We just have two quick polls right here at the beginning, just so we can know a little bit more about the folks who are joining us today. So I will go ahead and end the poll at the moment, and it looks like most people have already voted. And so let me share those results. So as you can see, overwhelmingly, most people really want to know about some of the hurdles and how you overcame them. And then just some general tips for college and career success, and a little bit more about your career as well. And so then let me go to the second poll. There we go. And there we go. So the second poll that we're going to start off with, again, just to know a little bit more about our students. For the students, what are some of the barriers to achieving your goals that concern you the most? And again, you can choose multiple selections here. So what are some of those barriers? Is it finishing your degree, gaining the right kind of experience, getting into graduate school, making those professional connections, finding a job in your field, not getting an opportunity due to ethnicity or gender, or any kind of hidden barriers, things that you just don't know that are out there that seem to really be kind of always be that wall that's kind of blocking you from getting to where you want to go. So I'll keep this poll up for a few more seconds. Thank you for all of you who are voting on the poll and letting us know a little bit more about you. It looks like as of right now, most people are concerned with making professional connections in their field. And that is always a challenge, especially when you're breaking into a new field, not sure who you can network with, and making sure that you find the right kind of connections to help achieve those kind of goals there. So I will leave this open for just about 3 more seconds. So anyone else that wants to vote, you're more than welcome to. Okay, I will go ahead and end the polling since it looks like most of you who have wanted to vote have voted. So let me share those results. So overwhelmingly making those professional connections. So I'm sure our speakers can probably touch on that today as well. And then of course, gaining experience and finding a job, particularly in their field. So that's always a challenge as well. So I will stop sharing those results, and now I'll get into introducing our fantastic speakers today, which thank you for all 3 of you for joining us. I know you all have very busy schedules, so thanks for joining Career Services and UNG, just so that we can get to know a little bit more about you and help our students kind of figure out how to get into their field. So the first one I'm going to introduce is Judge Lampley. She is the Assistant Chief Immigration Judge with the United States Department of Justice, the Executive Office for Immigration Review. Judge Lampley serves as the Chief Judge of 2 federal immigration courts in the state of Louisiana. She is responsible for providing overall leadership for the administration of the courts and the judges, law clerks, and staff members within those courts. Prior to her appointment as a judge, Judge Lampley served as the Executive Director of the Georgia Commission on Equal Opportunity, the state of Georgia's civil rights agency. A native of St. Petersburg, Florida, which I'm from Florida as well. So fantastic. Judge Lampley graduated magna cum laude from the University of Florida with a Bachelor of Science degree in Public Relations and earned her Juris Doctor degree from the University of Florida College of Law. She has held numerous leadership roles in the legal community, including imparting significant service within the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, and her leadership extends across Georgia in numerous statewide organizations. So Judge Lampley, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
And next up, we have BJay. He is the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. He was sworn in 2017 as the 25th presidentially appointed U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. Previously, BJay was in private practice handling complex civil litigation and defending clients in white-collar investigations and prosecutions. From January 2011 to 2017, BJay served in the Georgia General Assembly as a state representative from the 108th District. He served 3 terms as a state representative and voluntarily retired in January 2017. He has won recognition from numerous organizations and has been recognized by James Magazine in its most influential legislators list, and he has been honored with numerous awards throughout his legal and public service career. He earned his Juris Doctorate, summa cum laude, and Order of the Coif from the University of Illinois College of Law, where he was a Harno Scholar. And he is a graduate of Stetson University in DeLand, Florida, which I know exactly where that is because I'm from Deltona, Florida, which I'm sure a lot of people asked if you were from Daytona. I know they always asked me that. Where he was a Florida academic scholar, a member of the Omicron Delta Kappa, and was on the Intrafraternity Council. So thank you, BJay, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And last but certainly not least, Jennifer McCall graduated with her undergraduate degree from North Georgia College, which is now, of course, University of North Georgia, and later graduated from GSU College of Law, where she gave the commencement speech after serving as the Student Bar Association president. She worked at 3 firms before starting her own in 2016, and she's received numerous awards as an attorney, including Super Lawyers Rising Star, which is only awarded to 2.5% of attorneys in Georgia. She is a member of Leadership Hall County, and she currently serves on several nonprofit boards, such as the Honors Advisory Council, Women of UNG, Women's Source, the Human Rights Committee through Star Choices, Family Promise, Hall County Family Connections Network, and the Junior League. And she has 3 daughters, which the oldest of whom attends UNG. So of course I had to put that in there because it's a family thing. So thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And Jennifer Herring, are you on the call this morning?
Yes, I am.
There you are.
I'm here.
Fantastic.
I'm here.
So I will turn it over to Jennifer Herring, and you can do a brief introduction of who you are, and then you are welcome to facilitate all of our fantastic speakers today.
Excellent. Well, first off, let me remind everyone who is on the call with us today to utilize your chat button. We'll be monitoring that chat feature throughout the session and trying to get to those questions as quickly as we possibly can. My name is Jennifer Herring. I am the special assistant to Dr. Richard Oates, who is the vice president of the Gainesville campus. And I work to support not only our Gainesville campus, but also our other regional campuses in Blue Ridge, Cumming, and Oconee. I'm super excited today about this event only because the participants, the presenters, Joy, BJay, and Jennifer are all friends of mine, and certainly some of my most favorite people and heroes, and do such tremendous work. And I'm so thankful that you guys took time out of your day to share with our students, because I think it's going to be extremely impactful. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. And from a process standpoint, to make sure that with the presenters, I'll call on one of you guys to answer the question, and we'll proceed that way. So try to direct a little bit of the traffic today with the questions. First question, we'll start with BJ. What advice do you have for students looking to gain experience in either the legal field or in public service?
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I'm actually zooming from your Gainesville campus, so I'm glad to be here. Very exciting things going on in Gainesville and also at UNG in general. I want to tie the answer back to the poll results. It looks like a lot of folks wanted to kind of try to figure out how to make connections in the professional world or make any connections at all. You know, one big advice that I can give you is you'd be surprised if you reach out to folks, how willing that they are to help you. And that's something that I kind of lived through in my career. You know, I'm a first generation American. I immigrated when I was 10. My parents, you know, don't have college degrees. And I was the first one to graduate college in my family. And so we didn't know a single lawyer anywhere, just kind of given where we were socioeconomically. But when I went to college, I started to ask questions and ask professors about perhaps pursuing a career in law or things like that. And what happened was one of the professors suggested I try to reach out to one of the judges, local judges, and see if you could do an internship there, even if it means like, you know, keeping the library updated, but give me opportunity to see the procedure. And so I wrote a letter wanting to do an internship, and the judge actually accepted me. This is a state court judge in Florida when I was in college. And since then, you know, folks who see your work ethic and things like that, it kind of spread. And you can always ask them, like, here's what I want to do. You have any suggestions for me? And sometimes you have to make cold contacts. You know, you're very interested in, you do some research and you want to have maybe an entree into that person. And we have to get over the fact that, you know, all of us don't like rejection. But, you know, but the fact of the matter is, there will be somebody who's willing to help you and take a chance on you. And when you get that opportunity, work really hard and work on building a good reputation of someone who could be dependable, competent, and trustworthy. And you constantly ask folks for advice on what to do. And a lot of folks, when I go to a networking event in I think legal profession, I think it's true for any professional profession, when you go there and it's natural tendency for us to kind of gravitate towards those people that we know. And so you go to a networking event and you end up talking to the same people again and again. What you should be doing is talking to people that you don't know. You know, that comment about working the room, that's actually true. You have to get over that fear and go talk to people, meet people, and learn about them. Don't talk about yourself so much, but ask them about them. And you'll find out that they're very nice folks and got good contacts. And once you build that rapport and relationship, you could ask for an introduction to people that you all want to meet that might be mutual friends. And with you know, tools like LinkedIn these days and social media, there's a lot of things that you could do, like research-wise, in terms of how to get an introduction or how to be introduced into that field. So, I mean, those are some of the you know, high-level tips that I could give you. And, you know, always look for someone who wanted to mentor you or give you some advice from time to time. And that was critical for me and kind of how I came to be where I am today. And if I could tell myself, if I personally could go back in time or tell my, you know, 18, 19, 20-year-old self back in college to do something, this would be exactly what I would be telling myself to do.
Thank you, BJ. Such great advice. And that whole thought of working the room and the networking, that is applicable to any industry, any profession. So that's something that's very transferable once you develop those skills. Miss Joy Lampley-Fortson, do you have anything else in regards that you would like to tag on to BJ in regards to advice that you have for students?
Thank you, Jennifer. I really do. I want to pick up on something that U.S. Attorney Pack said, United States Attorney Pack said to us or to the students, which was sometimes you have to make a cold call. And, you know, back when he and I were young lawyers, it was literally picking up the phone, but now you can email folks or reach folks, you know, in different ways via social media and things of that nature if you choose to go that route. But I think that's really important. I mean, I kind of recall even my third year of law school, I did just that. I literally made cold calls. I'm in law school at the University of Florida, so down in Gainesville, Florida, go Gators. But I knew I wanted to start my career as a lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia. I had family here. I'd done some clerkships and internships here during law school. So literally my third year of law school, what I did is I made cold calls. I literally called different lawyers that I'd met through the summers I'd been in Atlanta and set up what I refer to as informal interviews with them. And I would get in my little car and drive from Gainesville to Atlanta, I guess a 6 or 7 hour drive on like a Thursday. And I would spend Friday morning and afternoon going and meeting with these perfect strangers, but they were lawyers and movers and shakers in the Atlanta legal community. And I can go and meet with them and hand my resume. And I implied no pressure to them because I frankly wasn't even asking for a job at that point. I was in law school, hadn't passed a bar, hadn't even gotten fully through law school. But I expressed to them that I was going to sit for a bar exam, the Georgia bar exam. I was indeed going to pass and become a lawyer, and that I'd really want to rely on them as a professional contact, or potentially even one that I would, request to get an interview with in the future. So I love what our U.S. attorneys said to us. The cold calls are so important. I mean, and like you said, if you pick up the phone or reach out to someone via email or meet them at a reception or things of that nature, you'll be surprised how often people are very willing to help and kind of reach out and say, sure, we can have that 15-minute coffee, that 20-minute cup of coffee, or sure, feel free to come by my office and visit with me. Very important.
Thank you, Joy. Jennifer, if you can answer kind of the same question, but I'm going to put a little bit of a spin on it because you are a graduate of North Georgia College, the University of North Georgia, and being an attorney in more of a rural community, a rural environment, what's some advice that you would have for our students that are in more rural parts of the state, that it may not be cohesive for them to travel to a more metro area to make those connections? What's some advice that you might have for them?
Sure. So when I started law school, I went to the Career Services office, and also I contacted the Director of Alumni Relations, and I got a list of attorneys who graduated from my law school who were practicing in Hall County, and I emailed all of them and said, can I take you to coffee or lunch? Can I pick your brain? And I got a lot more no's than yeses, but the yeses really panned out. I was able to get a job in the midst of a recession. I had a job lined up before most of my law school classmates because I, put myself out there. And like the other two have said, it is really important to put yourself out there, to try to meet as many people as you can. Another thing, when you are in law school, they host a lot of receptions at the beginning, and they invite lawyers, and the lawyers will give you their cards. And I reached out to everyone who gave me a card and said, can we follow up with a lunch? And several of the attorneys said, I've been going to these receptions for years and no one's ever asked me. Don't be afraid to ask people. And like the other two have said, people are really wanting to help. There are a lot of people out there who are happy to mentor, who remember what it felt like to go through. And in some ways, it was easier for me because I knew my location. I knew I wanted to be in Hall. And the attorneys, that I didn't get a job from, they refer me clients all the time because they remember meeting me early on, and I stayed in touch with them.
Excellent. Good advice. Thank you so much. And especially, I know our career services folks that are on the call with us today are loving the fact that you talked about utilizing the career services resources while you were still enrolled in college. Keeping with the same pattern, Jennifer, I'm going to start with you this time though. So as you talked a little bit about utilizing career services and alumni relations, what are some of the other support systems while you were in college that helped you develop your career path and just really finish college and persist on in your career? What are other resources that were in college that you used?
Sure. Like Mr. Polk, I'm a first generation American, a first generation college student. So, you know, I grew up with stories from my parents about how much they sacrificed, how they struggled in a country where they didn't speak the language to give me a better life. No pressure, right? But although they had all these expectations of me, sometimes it was hard to relate. They really didn't understand some of the struggles that I went through. And so it was really important in college. I had a wonderful mentor, one of my favorite professors, and I still keep in touch with her today. And all of the different, you know, colleges are set up, they want you to succeed. All of the different tutoring centers, you know, take advantage of those things and take advantage of the professors that want to mentor you and to help you get through it, especially if you don't have an adult at home who can really understand exactly what you're going through.
Great advice. Thank you. Joy, let's shift that same question to you, but shift it up just a little bit. What are some support systems that you identified and utilized early on in your career to help you to be successful and to get where you're at today?
Sure. So shifting away from my support system in college and law school, rather my career, it would go back to mentors, right? Because I am not a first generation college student. I come from tons of sisters and brothers. Everyone went to college. I think I was number 7 or 8 to go to college. But frankly, by the time I got to college into my career, they were on with their lives. So in terms of my career, I really relied on mentors. What I did as a young lawyer is I quickly, you know, once I started my first job as a lawyer in Atlanta and began to learn my work and how to do my work and do it well first, after about a year of doing that, I decided it was time for me to really get involved in the legal community. And I'll say here, the 3 of us, Jennifer, U.S. Attorney Pack, and myself, we're all lawyers, and I'm also a judge. So we keep talking about the law, but we want y'all to understand what we're saying, these lessons that we're sharing, they're transferable to whatever career you want to be in. If you want to be a teacher or in another profession, so what we're talking about is transferable. But for me in my career, after about a year of starting my first job as a lawyer, I was a prosecutor for the city of Atlanta. I knew it was very important because, like our U.S. attorney, I didn't have lawyers in my family. So I decided it was time for me to really engage in one of our local bar associations. For me, I decided to get involved in the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, a bar association made for women who look like me, who have similar experiences. And in that were a lot of young lawyers who were clueless like me, but more importantly, there were a lot of very experienced, seasoned lawyers. The first Supreme Court Justice, African-American woman, Justice Leah Ward Sears, she was one of our founders. So I got involved in that organization and began to volunteer and do the community service and all that stuff. But I also began to quickly forge relationships with the women in those law firms who had come before me, who'd already walked my path and said, look, I'm a young lawyer. I really need you to kind of help me navigate my career. And so that was extremely helpful in my career. Not only did those seasoned lawyers in the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys really nurture and support me, but they helped me navigate different minefields in my career. And even to this day, they've been helpful in me getting to where I am at this juncture. So I would say, if you can identify for me in your career early on a professional organization, or the teacher organization, or the engineer organization, whatever your profession is, and get engaged, get involved in whatever they're passionate about, but also find some mentors within that organization or folks who can help you and support you and advocate for you. And that's something that's really important when you start your career.
Thank you so much. Great advice. And so moving on, let's move on to U.S. Attorney Pack. You know, the same question in regards to law school and into your early professional career. What are some resources as a first generation American and a first generation college student interested in law and public service? What are some support systems that helped you early on?
You know, you guys are attending college, so, you know, one of the things you could ask is a lot of the folks that are actually teaching in school. If you're interested in that field and you have a professor that teaches your topic that you're very interested in, he or she could provide some background info on how to get more involved. And just to echo off Judge Fortson's comment about professional organization, you know, I've been involved in a lot of professional organizations. Every single one of them has a program to help the younger generation come up. And so I think it's really helpful to just reach out and call the president, whoever. You could do it online and say, hey, I'm a student, I'm really interested in this. Is there an event that I could attend and whatnot? And now I'll bet you there'll be somebody contacting you to help you go through that process. So some of the resources I use, just like Judge Fortson, I got involved in the Asian American Bar Association when I first came out to practice law here. And so, you know, I was at a large law firm here at the time. We didn't have many Asian American lawyers, although it was a very, very large law firm. And so I felt a sense of, you know, friendship immediately with folks with my similar background that I could bounce ideas off of. And at the time when I came to Atlanta, there weren't many Asian American lawyers in high-ranking positions, even in large law firms or in the government or things like that. And so I had to seek out advice and you know, some mentorships from folks that are not Asian American. And fortunately, I was able to find some folks who were willing to do that and help me out and make some introductions. That's how I got into politics. Frankly, it was a lawyer at the law firm I was at. A very senior lawyer has been very involved in politics, and I told him one day that I would love to kind of get more involved, you know, in politics, the political process. And he said, "Hey, we have a breakfast coming up. You're going to come as my guest." And I did that, and that kind of launched into additional networking and contacts. And by the time I was kind of ready to throw my hat in the ring to run for office or a state rep position, it was amazing how many people were willing to help me to do that, you know, give money or volunteer their time. And so, you know, take advantage of those relationships that you build throughout your career, starting with your, you know, college friends and professors and administrators. They could be a tremendous resource for you, and also a good reference point and a good sounding board too. So anyone could be a helpful person to what you're trying to achieve, because they have a perspective, particularly those who are a little more experienced or older than you. They have a perspective about life and career choices that you may be able to learn from. And so there's a reason why you have 2 years, listen to their advice, and then make the best choice out of all the advice they could get.
Excellent, thank you. Well, we're starting to get some really great questions in the chat. So from C.D. Leonard, and this is for all three. Judge Lampley-Fortson, we'll start with you on this one. But what is the obstacle that you are most proud of overcoming, and how did you do it?
Wow, that's a great question. Obstacle. There have been many. You know, I would say, again, this profession that we're in, the law, it's a tough profession. Jennifer and our U.S. Attorney, Pat, will tell you that. And I think when you go into a space as a minority, there can be certain people in those organizations who assume certain things about you, assume that you should be there, assume that you shouldn't be there, all of those things. So I had experiences like that. And for me, there was a time in my career where going to work every day was hard, because I realized often walking into that space, people didn't expect the best of Joy, but they expected other. And I'm a pretty tough person. I just am. And I decided then and there, really well before then, that despite what people assumed about me, despite whether or not people thought I was smart enough or not, or this, or, you know, enough or not, I knew that I was enough. I knew I was smart. I knew it was hardworking. I knew that there's very few people that I've met who can outwork me. And what I decided to do was just stand and navigate through that space. And one by one, I earned the respect of the people who doubted whether I should be in that workspace. And I was in that workspace for a number of years. I did well, and I moved on. And so I think that would be the greatest obstacle for me, I'd say, really in my career. You know, knowing that as an African-American woman, one time a girl, and I knew I wouldn't be a lawyer, so as an African-American young lawyer, I had to overcome people doubting me and my capability and whether I was smart enough. And I navigated it. I prayed about it. Some days I cried, but I stood more than I did anything. And I walked into courtrooms and I represented my client at the time, the state of Georgia, United States of America, and I withstood it. And here I am now. I'm a judge with the Department of Justice. So that's the proudest obstacle that I've overcome.
Thank you.
That's one thing I have to say, you guys. People will doubt you. People will wonder, did you get here because someone pitied you? Are you really smart enough? Are you good enough? You all will often face those obstacles, particularly since you are first generation college students. And people should not doubt you, but many people will. And you got to be tough, and you got to push through, and you got to work hard. And I know Jennifer and our U.S. attorney can speak to that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Judge Lampley-Fortson. Jennifer, McCall, we'll shift that same question to you. What is the obstacle that you are most proud of overcoming, and how did you do it?
So I actually had my first daughter when I was 16. So I, finished high school, went to college and law school with children in tow. By the time I went to law school, I had 3 kids already. And that was tough, but it's all about priorities. If something really means something to you, you can figure out a way to make it work. And I also wanted to comment on what Judge Lampley-Fortson said. When I go into courtrooms, a lot of times people ask me if I am the interpreter, if I am the court reporter. Like, I'm here with one briefcase. I'm not a court reporter. I don't even have a machine with me. But people like to make assumptions, especially if you're a woman, and especially if you're a minority. And what I learned early on is when I go into court and someone asks me those things or makes assumptions like that, I can let it rattle me, I can let it upset me, or I can let it fuel me to do even better. And so, to be successful, we've talked about all these no's from when you reach out to people and all these assumptions against you. You just have to develop a tough skin and be confident in yourself. You do deserve to be where you are, and you just have to believe that.
Thank you so much. What an inspiring story. U.S. Attorney Pack, we'll shift that same question to you. What was the obstacle that you are most proud of overcoming, and how did you do that?
Sure. Here's the thing. There was an experiment done in I think Switzerland involving fleas. Those of you who have pets know that fleas jump really, really high, right? And what they did was they took some fleas and put them in a cup and put a saran wrap over the top of the cup so that the fleas couldn't jump. But if they try to jump, they hit the top of the cup, right? And so the interesting thing is, after a while, they removed the plastic wrap. The fleas did not jump out of the cup, but only jumped as high as where the wrap was. And interesting enough, that even when they mated the fleas and got their children of the fleas, the second generation, they were only jumping at the top of the cup without any plastic cup. And you say to yourself, why is that important? In sociology, I think the important thing is you're conditioned to believe that you have a limitation how far you could go. And frankly, a lot of the limitations and the self-doubt limits your ability to achieve as far as you could go. And I feel like being Asian American, first generation, parents were culturally programmed to work very hard, keep your head down, and then you'll get picked up because of merit, right? And because of your minority or your background, you say to yourself, and you have people around you who say, well, you can't do that. Well, you can't do that. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, a elderly Korean person asked me what was it going to be when I grew up, and I said, well, I'd love to be a prosecutor. And he said, oh, no, you can't do that. I mean, you're Asian. There's no way a jury would respect you. How you like them apples now, right? I'm like the top prosecutor here in the district. And that kind of fueled me, and it leads to how I was able to overcome it. After a while, I kind of believed in that, like, oh, well, I can't do that. Look, I grew up poor. I don't have the connections to get to where I need to go. I didn't have the tutoring, whatnot. Then at one point I said, you know what? No, instead of saying, why not me? And I started asking myself, why not me, right? So I just started kind of flipping kind of the way I view things. Like, I can do that. And so what I realized is as I got to a certain level of success and I look around folks who had different backgrounds, maybe a little bit easier road to get to where they are. And, you know, at first you might be doubting yourself, like, how did I get here? You know, you say that all the time. And after a while you look around and you go, how did they get here? It's kind of an interesting thing. So your mindset and the mindset that I had growing up of like, I can't do that, really limited me, even though I didn't realize it until I was a little bit older. And being able to overcome that by, you know that phrase, fake it until you make it. You got to believe that you can do this. And what you'll find out is you can do that. Matter of fact, you can probably do it better than the people who are already there. And so you gotta, just like in sports and whatnot, you psych yourself into overperforming, right? Like in the Olympics, all the pressure, you psych yourself. You have to do that to your career. You're smart enough and you're good enough. And, you know, frankly, you've gotten to where you are despite whatever your circumstances are. And you're doing well. You're here at this actually Zoom panel to learn more about how to get ahead. That puts you ahead more than other folks who's not really thinking about these things. So for me, I think is really believing in myself, working hard at it, just like, you know, Jennifer said, and just like Judge Fortson said. And then I just worked hard and continued networking, looking for opportunities and giving myself best chances to get lucky. Let me repeat that. Bringing myself, working hard to put myself in the best position to get lucky. And that's what life is. And that's what I think that's a combination of competence, hard work, and luck to achieve success. And I was fortunate enough to, be lucky.
Thank you so very much, U.S. Attorney Pack. So this next question, we're going to give U.S. Attorney Pack a little bit of a break. This next question is actually for Judge Lampley-Fortson and Ms. McCall. So as a female and also a parent entering into the accounting industry, this particular person says, I feel just a constant urge to just prove myself all of the time. How much of that is healthy? And how much of that should this person set aside? So Jennifer McCall, we'll start with you on that as a female and a parent entering into an industry.
A parent of three.
Yeah, a parent of three. You know, can you talk about that constant feeling of having to prove yourself, and how much of that should we as females internalize, and how much of it should we just toss aside?
Sure, that's a great question, and it's just sadly our reality. So when I was in law school, I ran for president. And the woman that ran against me opened her speech with, Jennifer McCall is a great law student and a great mom. I've seen her with her children. But because she's a great mom, she does not have the time to dedicate to being your law school president. People will use it against you. I have friends who have been passed over for promotions. It is a reality that we do sadly have to face. And I think there are a couple different ways to overcome it. You work hard, your work speaks for itself. And there are some organizations that will recognize that, and there are some that won't. So, you know, for me, I'm an attorney, I'm a solo practitioner. So for me, my priority really was my family, and I was willing to walk away from any job that didn't allow that to be my priority. But I know that's not everybody's choice. So, but I think if you're in an organization that that can't recognize your hard work and has a bias against you because you're a mother, if you have the ability, you know, leave or do more to change that within the organization.
I think that's excellent advice. Jennifer's so right. As women, it's just kind of, you talked about it's imposed on us, and it is what it is. As a woman, you just, like she said, you have to develop tough skin. All of us on this panel have to have tough skin for our different circumstances and backgrounds. So I think, like she said, like Jennifer said, your work speaks for yourself. When you're in college and or your career, work hard. Just be relentless about working hard, and not only working hard, but doing the work well. Whatever your work product is, commit that you're going to do it well. If it's something in writing, if it's a report, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, do it well. And if you do that day after day, continually, it'll become your practice. Any of us as lawyers can tell you, we don't file a brief with the court until it's really well done, right? We go through many editing phases. You just get to the, so you establish, you know, you get accustomed to developing or providing an excellent work product. So work hard, make sure that you provide an excellent work product every time. Not that you're not human, not that you won't make mistakes, because you will. But you'll get to the point where your hard work will speak for itself, and you'll develop a reputation within that organization. To Jennifer's point, there's some organizations that will respect your work and appreciate your work, and there's some that are not. When there are ones that are not, I think it's important that you fall back on what we talked about. Having those mentors and those other people in your professional space that you can rely on at the end of a work day. You can get a drink with them or coffee, whatever, and say, you know, work's tough right now. This is what's going on. And when you have a mentor who cares about you, they'll listen to that. And again, really try to help you navigate that space. It may be, well, hey, maybe you need to do this differently in your workspace. Or maybe they'll say, it's not working so well in organization A. I have a friend in organization B and I hear they're hiring. I'd be happy to introduce you to that person. That's how this thing works. So you're in your workspace, work hard relentlessly, offer a good work product relentlessly. It'll speak for itself. If the people in that organization still don't appreciate you, look for opportunities to leave by leaning on those mentors that you have. And like both our U.S. attorney and Jennifer have said, mentors, good ones, they will want to help you, not just in college, but also in your career. And you might not have 10 mentors. I don't have 10 mentors, but I've always had 1 or 2 good ones. And so that would be my advice. This stuff is hard. Work and career, it's hard, but it's what we have to do as adults, and it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling. So.
Thank you both so much. We're going to give you 2 ladies a break, and we're going to shift the next question to U.S. Attorney Pack. So in regards to networking and working a room or any type of an event, what are some good questions to utilize as icebreakers?
You know, there's some couple tips I could give you. The first one you should really think about is just ask them what interested them to go into that field, right? So since you're trying to enter that field, and people generally like to talk about themselves, and they could talk about themselves a lot, so they'll tell you that. So they'll talk a lot about that, and you want to really listen. And some of the other kind of tips of the trade, I was a politician before, so I know all the tips about kind of converse with people and get what you want. You know, a lot of people, if you're in the South, particularly, and you are in the South, and you're meeting professional folks here, a lot of them tend to be college football fans, right? So if you are a college football fan or just know enough of it, and then if someone went to University of Florida, for example, you know, Judge Fortson went to University of Florida, then everybody knows Tim Tebow. If you know anything, read anything about Tim Tebow, you could talk to her about, you know, Tim Tebow or the years, are the Gators having a good season? You don't have to know anything about football other than to ask, is Florida football team going to do well this year? And
everyone in Georgia would say no.
Right. Right. And they'll talk about it. And, you know, so just keep it going. Other things like, where do they grow up? If they grew up in an area and you traveled that area, ask about, do you still have family there? And those type of open-ended questions to keep the conversation going. After a while, they'll probably talk about 90% of the time. You talk about 10% of the time, and they'll think that you hung the moon. Like, oh, that was such a great person. And, you know, when I was campaigning, you know, you get really good at those type of small talk, but you build that rapport and relationship. That's when you ask for what you need. Like, oh, can I have your card? You know, and then you make sure you grab their card. Don't give out your card. You always grab their card because you control when you contact them. They're never going to call you. Like, you give me your card, I'm not going to call you. Trust me. You get my card, you could call me, right? So always grab their card. And then, or if you want to ask, is like, oh, you mentioned something about your job. Is that, do you guys have any opportunities available for internships or things like that? Then automatically they'll say, oh yeah, give me a resume and I'll forward it to our person, HR or whatever. And that's how you create the opportunities to get lucky.
And Jennifer, can I piggyback on what U.S. Attorney Pack said about internships?
Absolutely.
One of the things that's been helpful to me is an internship can be paid, which is the best kind, really. Well, you want the money, but unpaid internships can be very valuable. My first job as a lawyer was a result of an unpaid internship. I was waiting for bar exam results and had 3 or 4 months I just needed to do something, and I wanted to do something legal. I went and interned for free in the prosecutor's office for the city of Atlanta, and I told him, one day I'm going to pass the bar exam in a few months, and then I'm going to want to interview with you. And of course, when I passed, after I worked for him for free, after I passed the bar, I said, I'd like an interview now. He interviewed me, hired me. So when U.S. Attorney Pack says internships, certainly paid internships are great, but also be open to non-paid internships, because an internship gets you in that organization space where you can meet people and build a relationship and work hard and impress the people there. So when a paid opportunity comes up, they may be willing to vouch for you.
Absolutely. Jennifer McCall, we'll shift that to you. You have anything else to add to that conversation about networking and working the room and icebreaker questions? What's worked for you?
What U.S. Attorney Pack said about, you should speak about 10% at a time, and you should ask a lot of open-ended questions. It's so true. And also, when someone introduces themselves and they say their name, you want to repeat their name to them throughout the conversation. All these studies show that if you say their name a lot, they end up liking you more, and it helps you to remember their name the next time you see them. And when you remember someone's name at a second event, that really impresses people. Another thing, I'm also involved in local bar associations. That's a really fantastic thing to do. I practice family law in Hall County. I don't advertise. All of my cases are by referral. And I've been able to build a successful practice a lot because of successful networking. And on top of the legal associations I'm in, I also participate in a lot of nonprofit organizations, things that matter a lot to me. And so poverty really means, I really want to address those issues. And so I work with Family Promise, I work with different organizations, and people know when you're passionate about things. And that's another great way to meet people outside of your little community. And so I've been able to meet a lot of people through volunteer organizations as well. And it's a wonderful way to give back to the community. And an attorney said to me once, a lot of these people that refer you to other people, they've never seen you in court, but they've seen you in the community, and they see how invested you're in your community. And that impresses people as well. If you're a lawyer or any career, any professional career that you want to go into, your reputation, people are always looking at that if you are in court or out of court, wherever you are in the community.
Thank you so much. We have actually a question specifically for Judge Lampley-Fortson. We have someone on with us today that's actually pursuing law in the immigration field and wants to know what is both your favorite and your least favorite part of practicing immigration law?
Great question. So my least favorite part of practicing immigration law is that we have just frankly more cases than we can handle, just hundreds of thousands of cases. And frankly, there's a backlog in our court for a number of reasons, which I don't care to talk about here. Just a lot of cases. That's my least favorite, because as any professional, you want to feel like whatever the work is ahead of you, that you can accomplish, getting through it and getting to the end of the list. In immigration court, it's just hard to get to the end of the list, lots of pending cases. But my favorite thing about practicing immigration law is when, as I was a DHS attorney a number of years ago, and I could agree with the judge after someone put on their case, and I could say, Judge, the Department of Homeland Security would support this person remaining in the United States. And as a judge, what's very satisfying for me is when I, as a judge, can sign that final order to allow someone to remain in the United States so that they can then take the path of becoming a United States citizen. It's very satisfying.
Excellent. So in our last couple of minutes that we have here, and this will be a question for all of our panelists today. We'll start with U.S. Attorney Pat. But as you think back to your college days and your college experiences, and certainly your undergraduate days, if you could go back and tell your 18, 19, 20-year-old self one critical thing that you have learned that you're like, hey, you need to pay attention to this and do this, what would you go back and tell yourself as an undergraduate?
That's a very good question. You know, I would say, I would tell my younger self to relax. Just work hard, but relax. Because I think that, especially these days, people coming out to, as young professionals out of college and grad school, put so much pressure on themselves. But things have a way of kind of working out. As long as you stay optimistic and you work hard and you continue to network and seek advice. So if I knew that and I really received that advice when I was younger, I think I would have even done better in school, frankly, not stress so much about it. And it would have saved many, many years of just like, you know, pulling my hair out saying that I want this so badly. And not to just let life happen naturally and just work hard towards a certain goal and not so much trying to control everything which you can't do, right? And so enjoy your time. College is a time when you expand your mind and interests. So take classes outside your comfort zone to learn a little bit more about it. And there's a great speech by Steve Jobs on a graduation about, he was, you know, before he became CEO of Apple, he studied like fonts and how that's very valuable to, you know, leading his business. You would never thought that. But I think just, you know, take a deep breath, relax. Things will work out as long as you work hard and do the right things.
Excellent. Judge Lampley-Fortson, same question to you. If you could go back and tell your 18, 19, 20-year-old self one critical piece of advice that would help yourself as you navigate through college, what would that be?
I would say be confident in who you are, know that you're enough, and know that you can accomplish any goal that you really are willing to work hard for. Be confident in who you are, know that you're enough, and know that you can really accomplish that goal. And enjoy the ride while you're doing all that.
Excellent. Jennifer McCall, what would you go back and tell yourself?
Mine is very similar to Judge Lampley-Fortson's. You are enough. I grew up poor, and I had this idea that wealthy and successful people had some kind of special gift. Some kind of special luck that the rest of us didn't have. And I realize now, especially being an attorney and seeing people who have become successful, they're really not special. You are enough. If you work hard and if you stick to your goals and if you are confident in yourself, you really can get there. I struggled for a long time with imposter syndrome. Whenever I would do something well, I'm very close to my brother. I would call my brother like, wow, I can't believe I did XYZ. And he said to me, you are the only person who was surprised by your success. Everyone else knows that you are capable. So if I could go back and tell my young self something, I would say, you are enough, you are capable, you deserve all the good things that you have worked for. And that's what I would tell all of the attendees today. You are enough, you are worthy of everything you work hard for. So just keep working hard and you can be successful.
Thank you so much. Well, I don't know about the rest of you on this call with us today, but I am certainly inspired and feeling confident and feeling like we can go out and conquer the world because of the words of U.S. Attorney Pack, Judge Lampley-Fortson, and Jennifer McCall today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Lori now. She has a couple of additional surveys to round this out, but let me extend my very heartfelt personal thank you to our panelists today for your encouraging, empowering, and honest words to all of us today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I'll go ahead and launch the poll just real quick if our students can. We just got 2 very quick questions here at the end. And yes, thank you very much, Judge Lampley, U.S. Attorney Pack, and Jennifer McCall for joining us today. Judge Lampley, I know you've got to run to another call in about 10 seconds, and everyone, she's in New Orleans right now, so she's getting the brunt of this really bad storm. So please stay safe. Hope everything will be okay. We're going to get hit tomorrow morning, so hopefully everyone stays safe and everyone's okay. So thank you so much for joining us. But yeah, we just wanted to get a quick poll here at the end about, if you learned something new, if you gained any new insights, because yes, they all have, like I said, I mean, their bios are pages long. So when I said I gave an abbreviated version when I introduced them, it's extraordinarily abbreviated. Because they have so many wonderful accomplishments, and I mean, yes, just truly inspiring all the amazing things that they've done. So thank you again for joining us today. So I'll go ahead and end this poll. Thank you so much, everyone, for being able to participate in that. It looks like everyone gained something today, so that's fantastic news. We always want to see that. And then just one quick little fast poll here at the end, just one more. So launching the poll, here we go. So after this chat, how motivated are you to pursue your career goals? 1, not very motivated. 5, very motivated. And my gosh, after listening to all 3, I think I need to start coming up with some new goals and get motivated to come up with something new, because this is fantastic. Everyone, thank you so much. It is really inspiring hearing all the challenges, because I know a lot of our students are facing a lot, not only just because of the times right now, but just in general. It's always just a lot when you're in college, you're working, you've got families, add on top of it all the virus and having to learn online and all these things that are going on in the world, just makes it kind of a stressful time. So thank you so much for taking the time today to be able to meet with everyone here. We had great participation today from our students. Thank you so much for asking questions. They were fantastic questions. And it looks like everyone's pretty motivated to get working on all of their goals. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you again to our speakers. Really appreciate all of the time. And thank you to all of our students showing up today. I know it's kind of nasty weather, but hopefully you were able to join from home so you didn't have to go driving in it. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I wish you all the best. Take good care.